Welcome back to Writing Done Right. Well, today we're going to talk about motivation. How can you get motivated to organize? How can you get motivated to write? Welcome back to Writing Done Right. I am Tom Morosky, an author and a technology consultant, and on this channel we will teach you how to get your manuscript written, get it produced, and get it pushed out to all the distribution networks so that your book can be found anywhere for all of your readers. Today we're going to talk a little bit about motivation to get your writing done. And I broke this down into 3 forms of motivation. One of these is how to motivate yourself to find topics to write. We're not actually going to cover this one today because I have a whole separate video on motivation for finding your topics. You can go ahead and find that in the description or on the cards. What we are going to look at is 2 areas. Number 1 is how to get motivated to organize our writing, organizing our thoughts. And the other is how to get motivation to actually get writing done. Both of these are very important for us authors because you have to have a plan before you get into write. Even people who are more of the seaters, you fly by the seat of your pants, you're just kind of writing, you still have to have a little bit of a plan, a little bit of a direction, at least a vague idea of where you're going. Otherwise, you could end up with some weird postmodern story that looks like a Picasso painting, although that might be really interesting. So I don't know, whatever. So first, let's go ahead and look at organization. Motivation to organize your writing. So this you could probably find parallels in the business world to sharpening the axe. In other words, motivation to write is basically motivation to get everything together so you have a plan. When you sit down to write, you can have things done. So if you've not heard the story about sharpening the axe, it goes like this. There's a man who passes by a lumberjack who's chopping away at this tree. Early in the morning, he's chopping away, and then the man goes out, he does his business, and he comes back. As he comes back, the lumberjack's still chopping on the same tree, and he says, "Friend, if you stop to sharpen your axe, you might actually make a little more progress." The guy keeps chopping away and says, "I know, but if I stop to sharpen my axe, I just don't have enough time to do that." And the reality is, if he stopped and sharpened his axe, he might have finished more trees that day. So that's the story about sharpening your axe. So with that, we want to get out there and talk about planning your motivation. So what are the things that you might need to do to get planning? So I look at this and say, planning gets me moving faster. So like today, I spent my writing time today actually organizing a chapter. I didn't actually get any writing done, whether that be an essay written or whether that be something written up on the computer. I didn't get any editing done. I sat down, I said, where do I want to go with this particular chapter? How do I organize it? And I took a series of bullet points. I have it all ready so that tomorrow's writing session, I can sit down, I can open that up, and I can read my bullet points and then start formulating what I want to write. That's organization. I'm going into it with a plan. I'm not going to have to stop and think, oh, do I need to do this? What do I need to do? Do I need to step out? No, I don't know. All that's planned out. That's your motivation. Why do you get your motivation to do that? Well, you want to do that so that you know the direction you're trying to go into. If you don't have a direction, if you don't have a plan, you're going to lose out on some of your motivation. And that's a sad thing. You don't want to lose out on your motivation. So figuring out how to get organized is a key factor. Now, I put my organization as part of my writing plan. Like I said, today I didn't actually get any writing done, but I did get a lot of organization done. And that's a very important step. So let's go ahead and talk number 2 about motivation to write. Your chief motivation, of course, should be, let's get this book done. And I look back over the books that I've done, and I've done 7 books now, and typically it takes me about 3 to 6 months to get a book mostly ready. I put it through a beta review and all of the other stuff. It takes me another couple months. Of course, the shortest book I've ever written was either, it's similar to this one, Josiah's Sanctification. I actually wrote the whole manuscript in, I think, 2 weeks. It might have actually been 1 week. And I actually had the thing started into the publication distribution centers in actually a grand total of, I think, 3 or 4 months. The second fastest was The Art of Shallow Neighboring. That one is a parody, and it was written, I think I wrote that in a matter of 2 months, maybe 3 months. And it was literally, I think I got the idea in June, and it was available for order in October. The longest book I took was this white one in the middle. A lot of this is because there's a lot of heavy research into it. We spent a lot of time digging through resources. I spent 2 years just trying to track down one alleged resource, only to find that no, everyone's been making up what that resource was, so it got excluded from my book. And I have a glorious story about tracking down a resource that everybody in the Christian community keeps on publishing, and nobody apparently is right, because I spent 2 years finding that resource to find on that very page on that magazine, it's an ad for a guitar. Yeah, not exactly the argument people said. Now, an average amount of time it takes me to do a book is going to be about, I don't know, maybe about 6 months to a year. Synaptergy, my fiction novel, that one I got the idea in, I think, October of last year, so right about a year ago, and it hit the printers in May. So that's about the time. But I also wrote and published, I think, 2 or 3 other books in that time. So I'm always working on multiple books at a time. So you get your motivation to write by wanting to get that out there. But what are some simple steps? Well, these are my steps. Number 1, you got to calendar the time in. Pencil it in or hard pen it etch it in stone into your calendar so that nothing else becomes more important outside of an outright tragedy. Make sure you are scheduling time every day to get your writing done. I dedicate about an hour, maybe 2 hours, particularly on the weekends. I'll dedicate a little bit more time. On the weekdays, I schedule at least an hour in to sit down and either get organization done or get editing done or get writing done. We're going to get something done every day for about an hour. Number 2 is I want to have a plan. This is where going back to the previous step and being organized is key. If I find out that, like if I go into my desk on my basic desk on my office, right, and it's all messy, I lose efficiency. When I notice I'm losing efficiency either in work or in writing, it probably means there's a mess somewhere. Something's not organized. So if I stop to sharpen the axe, either clean off the desk or write an outline for my chapter, whatever I'm doing there, then it gets me organized and planned out, and now I can jump into the next day. So today I spent all the time organizing the chapter so that tomorrow I will sit down and I will get a hard, intense time of writing done. And that's actually what's going to happen because I have a plan and a time set aside. Next is you might consider setting a writing goal. I personally don't say I'm going to write 1,000 words today because sometimes actually I'll sit down and I'll write about 2,000, honestly. But I don't really have personal goals, although that helps for a lot of people, particularly you guys writing a novel. If you say I want a 50,000 word novel, which is a standard length for a novel, I think Synaptergy's right around that 50,000 mark. It might be 45 or so, but right around there, it might be 60, I forget. But if you say, all right, 1,000 words a week gets the thing out in 1 year, right? If you say 1,000 words a day, you can have that thing done in a couple months. That's awesome. And that's why some people like that. I personally just like, I have my plan, I have my hour, I'm dedicated, I'm focused. As long as I'm seeing progress at the end of the week, I'm okay with that. But you might want to set word counts, word goals, page goals, whatever that happens to be. For me, my writing goals are that time to motivate and sit down and get that work done. And then the last one is reward yourself. Maybe if you've worked diligently for the first 4 days, on day 5, you can hit the donut shop. You can find one that's open these days. But, you know, maybe you're not into the donuts. Maybe you're rewarding yourself with something else. I don't know. So those are my tips and my tricks on organization. Let me know all of your tips, all your tricks on motivating yourself to get organized and motivating yourself to actually sit down and get your writing done. I'd be anxious to hear what you have to say. Thanks for coming along, and I hope that we have taught you how to get your writing done right.